In a distant corner of the galaxy, where stars shimmered like diamonds scattered across velvet darkness, the Galactic Council gathered on their grand orbital station, known as Arcturus Hub. This station was a marvel of engineering, a floating city filled with towering spires and glowing pathways that connected its many chambers. It served as the heart of diplomacy for dozens of advanced civilizations, each with their own unique cultures and technologies. The Council prided itself on maintaining peace and order throughout the galaxy, ensuring that no single species grew too powerful or acted without consent. Among the members of this prestigious council was Daniel Carter, a human diplomat who had spent years building bridges between Earth and alien races. He was a tall man with sharp features and a calm demeanor, respected for his patience and ability to listen. Despite being from a younger and less influential species, Daniel had earned a place at the table through hard work and determination. Yet, as he sat in the council chamber that day, he couldn't shake an uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach. Something wasn't right. At the same time, far above the council chambers, Emily Dawson worked tirelessly in the observation post. She was an astrophysicist tasked with monitoring activity in nearby star systems. Her job usually involved tracking comets, studying anomalies, or cataloging new planets. But today, something unusual caught her attention. On her screen, strange energy signatures appeared at the edge of known space flashes of light moving faster than anything she had ever seen. They were faint at first, almost imperceptible, but they grew stronger with each passing moment. Emily leaned closer to her console, her fingers flying over the controls as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. "This can't be natural," she muttered under her breath. Whatever it wasn't a random cosmic event. These patterns were deliberate, organized, a fleet. She ran more scans, cross-referencing data points until the truth became undeniable. Dozens, no hundreds of ships were approaching, all traveling at speeds that defied conventional physics. Her heart raced as she sent an urgent message to the council chamber below. Within minutes, alarms blared throughout the station, pulling the council members out of their discussions. Daniel's unease turned into outright dread when he heard the news. A massive fleet was heading straight toward them, and its origin was unmistakable. Earth. For centuries, humanity had been seen as weak and insignificant by the galactic powers. They were newcomers to the interstellar stage, struggling to survive while older, more advanced species thrived. Many on the council believed humans would never pose a real threat. But now, staring at the readings displayed on the main holographic screen, even the most skeptical ambassadors fell silent. The sheer size of the fleet was staggering, and its design was unlike anything anyone had encountered before. Sleek, angular ships bristled with weapons, their hulls glowing faintly as if powered by some unknown energy source. "What does this mean?" one ambassador asked nervously, breaking the silence. Daniel didn't answer immediately. His mind raced with possibilities. Was this an attack? A show of force? Or something else entirely? One thing was certain: the arrival of this fleet would change everything. For better or worse, humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy, in a way no one could ignore. As the council debated their next move, Emily continued analyzing the incoming data. Every second brought the fleet closer, its intentions still unclear. All she knew for sure was that the calm days of diplomacy were over. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same again. The fleet arrived with a presence that shook the very foundations of Arcturus Hub. Its ships emerged from the void of space like shadows cast by a dying sun, their sleek forms cutting through the darkness with an eerie grace. Each vessel pulsed with energy, its engines casting faint hues of blue and red across the surrounding starscape. At the center of the formation loomed a colossal command ship, larger than anything the council had ever seen. It was a behemoth, bristling with weapons and adorned with Earth's emblem, a golden globe. Surrounded by orbiting rings, projected boldly on its hull, Captain William Hayes stood on the bridge of the command ship, his sharp eyes scanning the orbital station ahead. He was a man in his late 40s, with graying hair and a jawline carved from granite. His voice carried authority when he spoke, each word deliberate and measured. "This is it," he said to his crew, his tone leaving no room for doubt. "Today, we remind the galaxy what humanity is capable of." Back on Arcturus hub, panic spread like wildfire among the council members. Some scrambled to activate defensive protocols, while others demanded answers. Daniel Carter found himself caught between disbelief and dread. He had spent years fostering goodwill between humans and aliens, only to see it all unravel before his eyes. The sight of Earth's fleet filled him with conflicting emotions, pride at humanity's achievements, but also fear of what they might do next. Emily Dawson watched the scene unfold from her observation post, her hands trembling as she adjusted the sensors to get a clearer view. She counted over 200 ships in the fleet, each one equipped with technology far beyond what Earth was supposed to possess. How had they developed such advancements without anyone noticing? And why now? Her mind raced with questions, but one thought lingered above all others. Whatever humanity's intentions were, they weren't here to negotiate. The council chamber erupted into chaos as ambassadors shouted over one another. Marcus Klein, a reptilian representative from the Zorathi, slammed his fist onto the table. "This is an act of aggression," he hissed, his forked tongue flicking with anger. "We must retaliate immediately." Lyra Voss, the aquatic delegate from the Nereid race, floated calmly in her water-filled containment pod. Her soft voice cut through the noise. "Let us not jump to conclusions," she urged. "We don't know their purpose yet. Perhaps there is still time for dialogue." Daniel tried to intervene, raising his hand to speak. "If we attack them blindly, we risk escalating this situation further. Let's find out what they want before making any decisions." But his words fell on deaf ears. Fear and suspicion clouded the judgment of those around him. Then came the transmission. A holographic image materialized in the center of the chamber, revealing Captain Hayes standing tall and resolute. His expression was cold, unyielding. Behind him, officers moved with precision, monitoring systems and preparing for whatever came next. When he spoke, his voice boomed through the room, silencing even the most vocal critics. "We are here not to negotiate, but to reclaim what is ours," Hayes declared. His words sent shockwaves through the council. "For centuries, your council has exploited weaker species, hoarding resources and denying access to knowledge that could save lives. You have left humanity to suffer while you prospered. That ends today." Gasps echoed throughout the chamber. Some ambassadors exchanged nervous glances, while others clenched their fists in outrage. Hayes continued, his tone unwavering. "You will dismantle your monopolistic control over interstellar trade and share your technology freely or face the consequences." The ultimatum hung heavy in the air, a storm ready to break. Emily listened intently, her heart pounding. Despite the danger posed by humanity's fleet, she couldn't help but feel a flicker of admiration. For decades, Earth had been treated as insignificant, pushed aside by more powerful species. Now, they had returned not to beg for scraps, but to demand justice. As the council debated how to respond, Daniel felt the weight of his position more than ever. He knew the coming days would test not only his loyalty, but also the fragile bonds holding the galaxy together. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: humanity's arrival had shattered the illusion of peace and nothing would ever be the same again. Back on Earth, Rachel Monroe sat in a dimly lit room filled with screens displaying maps of the galaxy. She was a historian turned advisor, her sharp mind and deep knowledge of humanity's past making her invaluable to Captain Hayes and his. Michonne's brown hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and her glasses reflected the soft glow of the monitors. Around her, Assistants worked tirelessly, compiling data and preparing reports. But Rachel's focus was on one thing: ensuring that everyone understood why humanity had reached this point. She pulled up an old recording, grainy and faded, showing a meeting between Earth's leaders and members of the Galactic Council decades earlier. In it, alien diplomats promised aid and protection in exchange for Earth's cooperation. They spoke of alliances and mutual growth, painting a picture of hope. But the promises were hollow. Over time, humanity learned the hard way that the Council cared little for their survival. Resources meant for Earth were redirected to more important species. Technology that could have saved millions was kept out of reach, locked behind impenetrable barriers of bureaucracy and greed. Rachel replayed the footage, her jaw tightening as she remembered the consequences of those broken promises. Earth's early colonization efforts had failed miserably, not because of human error, but because sabotage by Council-aligned forces ensured their collapse. When cosmic disasters struck, no help came. Humanity was left to fend for itself, forced to claw its way forward against overwhelming odds. These betrayals weren't just political maneuvers. They were acts of cruelty that cost countless lives. Captain Hayes entered the room, his boots clicking softly against the metal floor. He paused beside Rachel, glancing at the screen. "Still digging through the archives?" he asked, his voice low and steady. "They need to see it," Rachel replied without looking away from the monitor. "Not just hear about it, but truly understand why we're doing this." Hayes nodded slowly. He knew better than anyone how much pain these memories carried. As a soldier who had fought in battles where humanity was outnumbered and outgunned, he had seen firsthand what happened when trust was misplaced. Those experiences forged his resolve, and now they fueled the mission. "We'll make them see," he said firmly, "even if we have to burn the galaxy down to do it." Meanwhile, aboard Arcturus' hub, Daniel Carter wrestled with his own emotions. He had spent years believing in the Council's ideals, striving to prove that humanity deserved a seat at the table. But now, faced with the undeniable evidence of betrayal, doubt crept into his mind. Was the Council truly as noble as he had once thought? Or was it just another tool for the powerful to maintain control? Emily Dawson, still stationed in the observation post, began piecing together fragments of information she had gathered. Using her access to the station's archives, she uncovered records of similar injustices inflicted on other marginalized species. There were whispers of secret treaties, hidden agreements designed to keep weaker civilizations subservient. It was a pattern repeated across centuries, a cycle of exploitation masked by flowery rhetoric. As Emily delved deeper, her frustration grew. How could the Council claim to represent justice when their actions told such a different story? The hypocrisy gnawed at her, forcing her to question everything she had believed about her role in the galaxy. For the first time, she found herself sympathizing with humanity's anger even as fear lingered in the back of her mind. On the Council floor, tensions simmered. Ambassador Marcus Klein pushed for immediate military action, arguing that humanity's aggression justified a swift response. Others, like Lyra Voss, urged caution, warning that attacking the fleet might provoke exactly the catastrophe Hayes threatened. Daniel struggled to mediate, torn between his loyalty to humanity and his responsibility to prevent bloodshed. Rachel's words echoed in his thoughts. "They won't listen unless we force them to." If humanity's bold move succeeded, it would rewrite the rules of the galaxy forever. But failure meant annihilation, not just for Earth, but potentially for anyone who dared challenge the Council's dominance. The stage was set, the lines drawn. Humanity's arrival had ignited a firestorm of fear, anger, and uncertainty. And as the Council debated its next move, one truth became clear: the galaxy stood on the brink of change, whether it was ready or not. The Council chamber was a cacophony of voices, each ambassador shouting over the others in a desperate attempt to be heard. The air buzzed with tension as fear and anger swirled like a storm. Daniel Carter stood at the center of it all, his hands raised in a futile effort to calm the chaos. "We need to think carefully about this," he urged, his voice steady but strained. "If we act rashly, we risk making things worse." But his words were drowned out by Marcus Klein, the Zorathian ambassador. His reptilian eyes narrowed as he leaned forward, scales glinting under the chamber's artificial light. "They've already made their intentions clear," he hissed. "This is not diplomacy, it's a declaration of war. We must strike first, before they have a chance to attack." Lyra Voss floated silently in her containment pod, her translucent form shimmering faintly. She watched the debate unfold with a quiet intensity, her large, unblinking eyes reflecting the turmoil around her. When she finally spoke, her soft voice carried an undeniable weight. "Attacking them now would only confirm their accusations," she said. "They claim we are oppressors. If we respond with violence, what does that make us?" Her words struck a nerve, silencing some of the more aggressive voices, but not all. Marcus scoffed, baring his sharp teeth. "And what do you suggest? That we sit here and wait for them to destroy us?" Before Lyra could respond, another transmission interrupted the discussion. Captain Hayes appeared once again on the holographic display, his stern face filling the room. This time, there was no room for negotiation in his tone. "You've had your chance to speak," he said coldly. "Now, listen to ours." Behind him, images flickered to life, photos, videos, and documents detailing decades of exploitation. There were records of trade agreements that favored the Council's elite species while leaving others to starve. Footage showed alien ships stripping Earth's resources without permission. Reports outlined how humanity's pleas for aid during crises were ignored or dismissed. Each piece of evidence hit like a hammer blow, exposing the ugly truth beneath the Council's polished facade. Daniel felt a lump rise in his throat as he recognized some of the incidents shown. He had suspected corruption within the Council before, but seeing it laid bare in such stark detail left him shaken. How many times had he defended these very policies, believing they were necessary for maintaining order? Now, he wasn't so sure. Emily Dawson watched the broadcast from her observation post, her fingers gripping the edge of her console. The revelations confirmed what she had begun to suspect. The Council wasn't the benevolent force it claimed to be. It was a machine designed to keep power concentrated in the hands of the few, crushing anyone who dared challenge it. As the images played out, Emily realized something else: humanity wasn't just fighting for itself. They were fighting for every species that had ever been pushed aside, silenced, or forgotten. When the transmission ended, the room fell silent. No one moved. No one spoke. The weight of what they had seen pressed down on them like a physical force. Even Marcus seemed momentarily subdued, though his scaly hands clenched tightly into fists. Rachel Monroe's voice came through shortly after, addressing the Council directly. "This is your last chance," she said firmly, her tone leaving no room for doubt. "Dismantle the systems that have kept species like ours trapped in poverty and despair. Share your knowledge freely, and work toward true equality or face the consequences." The ultimatum hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. For the first time, cracks began to form in the Council's unity. Some ambassadors exchanged uneasy glances, their confidence shaken. Others whispered among themselves, debating whether humanity's demands were reasonably or even possible. Daniel knew the decision wouldn't come easily. The Council prided itself on its authority, and giving in to humanity's terms would mean admitting fault. But refusing to act carried risks of its own. As the debate resumed, quieter but no less heated, Daniel couldn't help but wonder, was the Council willing to sacrifice everything to protect its pride, or could it find the courage to change? Outside the station, humanity's fleet loomed like a shadow, waiting. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same again. The fragile calm within the council chamber shattered when alarms blared across Arcturus hub. Emily Dawson's console lit up with urgent alerts, her fingers flying over the controls as she tried to make sense of what was happening. Unauthorized. Ships approaching. She called out, her voice tinged with panic. On her screen, a group of smaller vessels clearly aligned with the council broke formation and sped toward humanity's fleet without permission. Marcus. Klein stood abruptly, his tail lashing behind him in agitation. It's a preemptive strike, he announced, though no formal order had been given. We can't let them dictate terms. Daniel turned to him sharply, his face pale with disbelief. This wasn't sanctioned by the council, he snapped. You're escalating this situation recklessly. But it was too late. The rogue faction opened fire, their weapons cutting through space like streaks of lightning. Humanity's fleet responded instantly, their advanced technology giving them a devastating advantage. In moments, the skirmish erupted into chaos, explosions lighting up the void as ships clashed in brutal combat. The rogue vessels were obliterated, one by one, their destruction so swift that it left even seasoned diplomats speechless. Captain Hayes watched the battle unfold from the command ship, his expression grim but resolute. They chose this path, he muttered under his breath, though there was no satisfaction in his tone. When the dust settled, the rogue fleet was gone, reduced to drifting debris. Humanity's ships remained intact, their firepower unmatched. News of the attack spread quickly, reaching the council chamber just as the ambassadors struggled to process what had happened. Daniel sank into his seat, his hands trembling. He had warned against rash actions, but now the damage was done. Humanity's response had proven exactly what they were capable of, and exactly why the council should tread carefully. Emily felt a chill run down her spine as she analyzed the aftermath. The precision and efficiency of humanity's retaliation were terrifying. These weren't desperate rebels fighting for survival. They were a calculated force-wielding power far beyond what anyone expected. Yet, amidst the fear, she couldn't help but feel a flicker of admiration. Humanity hadn't started the fight, but they had ended it decisively, back on Earth. Rachel Monroe received updates from the fleet, her eyes narrowing as she read the reports. This changes nothing, she said firmly, addressing Captain Hayes. If anything, it proves our point. The council can't be trusted to act rationally. Hayes nodded, his jaw tight. Agreed. But now they'll see us as monsters instead of victims. Rachel placed a hand on his shoulder. Maybe being seen as monsters is exactly what we need, right now. Meanwhile, the council descended into turmoil. Marcus Klein faced harsh criticism for his role in the rogue faction's actions, his once commanding presence diminished by accusations of recklessness. Lyra Voss, however, used the moment to push for a new approach. Floating gracefully in her containment pod, she addressed the room with quiet authority. Violence only breeds more violence, she said. We cannot win this conflict through force. If we want peace, we must address the root causes of humanity's anger. Her words resonated with some, including Daniel, who found himself nodding despite his inner turmoil. He knew she was right, but convincing the rest of the council wouldn't be easy. Many still clung to the belief that humanity needed to be subdued, not reasoned with. As the debate dragged on, Emily continued digging deeper into the council's archives, uncovering more evidence of systemic corruption. She forwarded her findings to Daniel, hoping they could be used to sway undecided delegates. If we expose the truth, she whispered to herself, maybe we can turn this around. But time was running out. Humanity's patience was wearing thin, and every passing hour brought them closer to a decision that could reshape the galaxy forever. Whether it would lead to war or reconciliation remained uncertain, but one thing was clear. The Council's days of unchecked dominance were numbered.
Ambassador Zix-7 of the Harmony Collective floated in the Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council. The hall was enormous, built to hold representatives from hundreds of different worlds. Today, the emergency session was about one topic. Humans had left their world. Zix-7 was worried. In his 300 years of life, he had never seen the Council so frightened. Representatives from across the galaxy had traveled here within days of hearing the news. The humans had broken quarantine. A ship full of predators was now loose in space. Dr. Helen Gray sat in a special booth designed for human physiology. She was humanity's first diplomatic representative to the Galactic Council. Helen had been a diplomat on Earth for 20 years before being chosen for this historic role. She was connected to the meeting through a quantum communication system that let her talk to the Council in real time. Helen looked around the assembly hall through her viewing screen. She had never imagined anything like this. Creatures of every shape and size filled the vast space. Some looked like large insects. Others were similar to plants or sea creatures. A few were energy beings that appeared as glowing lights. What struck Helen most was how peaceful they all seemed. These beings moved slowly and spoke quietly. There was no pushing or shouting, no displays of aggression. They were so different from human political meetings. Council leader Vel 9 called the session to order. Vel 9 was an ancient being that looked like a tree with many branches. She had been leading the council for over 500 years. We gather today to discuss the breach of Quarantine Protocol 77 Alpha, Vel 9 announced. Her voice was transmitted to every representative through neural translators. The species designated as human has achieved interstellar travel. A human vessel has been detected in the Proxima Centauri system. A wave of nervous energy moved through the assembly. Helen could feel the fear even through the communication link. These aliens were truly terrified of humans. Ambassador Zix-7 was the first to speak. Honored Council, the Harmony Collective has studied the human species for 2 centuries. Our monitoring stations have observed their development with growing concern. Zix-7 activated a holographic display in the center of the hall. Images from Earth appeared, showing human history from an alien perspective. Observe their development. Pattern, Zix-7 continued. In just 200 of their years, they have gone from simple farming to nuclear weapons. They have fought over 500 major wars during this period. They have created weapons capable of destroying their entire world. Helen watched the display with growing horror. The aliens had recorded everything. Every war, every battle, every act of human violence had been documented and studied. Another representative stood to speak. This was Commander Lix-4 of the Peaceful Worlds Alliance. Lix-4 looked like a large butterfly with shimmering wings. The human war records are disturbing, Lix-4 said. But what concerns us most is their approach to technology. Every other species in this council developed space travel through cooperation and shared scientific advancement. Humans developed it through military competition. Helen realized this was true. Human space technology had come from rocket programs designed to deliver weapons. Human computers had been built to calculate missile trajectories. Human satellites had been launched for military surveillance. Their first space travelers were soldiers, Lix-4 continued. Their first space stations were military outposts. Everything about human space development has been driven by conflict and the desire to dominate. Council member Ori-2 spoke next. Ori-2 was a crystalline being that spoke through musical tones. We must also consider the biological evidence, Ori-2 said. Humans are natural predators. They evolved from hunting creatures. Their eyes face forward for tracking prey. Their teeth are designed for tearing flesh. Their brains reward them for successful violence. Helen felt sick. The aliens were describing humans like dangerous animals. But she could not argue with their observations. Humans were predators. Human biology and psychology were shaped by millions of years of hunting and fighting. Every peaceful species in this council evolved from plant-eaters or filter feeders, Ori-2 continued. We developed intelligence to avoid conflict and find food efficiently. Humans developed intelligence to hunt more effectively and defeat their enemies. Vel 9 gestured for quiet. Ambassador Zix 7, please share the historical precedent. Zix 7 activated another display. This one showed star maps with large dark areas marked in red. 3 times in galactic history, predator species have achieved space travel, Zix 7 explained. Each time they have caused massive destruction before being stopped. The display showed the Vorthon Empire, which had enslaved 47 worlds before being defeated by a coalition of peaceful species. It showed the Kretic Horde, which had destroyed entire solar systems for resources. It showed the Mantis Collective, which had turned living beings into tools for their hive mind. Each of these species started the same way, Zix 7 said. They claimed to come in peace. They said they wanted to trade and learn, but their predator nature always took over. They always chose domination over cooperation. Helen felt the weight of this history. The aliens were not being unreasonable. They had good reasons to fear species like humans. Dr. Helen Gray activated her communication system. Honored Council, I understand your concerns, but humans are not like the species you describe. We are capable of cooperation and peace. The assembly fell silent. This was the first time a human had spoken directly to the Galactic Council, Ambassador. Zix 7 responded gently. Dr. Gray, we have observed human behavior for centuries. We have seen your wars, your competitions, your constant conflicts. Even your peaceful activities are structured as competitions. Your sports, your business, your politics. Everything is about defeating opponents. Helen tried to think of a response. Zix 7 was right. Human society was built around competition and conflict, but humans also show compassion, Helen said. We help each other in disasters. We care for the sick and elderly. We create art and music and literature. Council member Thex 9 spoke up. Thex 9 was a gas-based life form that appeared as a shifting cloud. This is true, Thex 9 said, but humans only show compassion to their own kind. Your history shows that you treat other species as resources to be used or obstacles to be removed. Helen could not argue with this either. Human treatment of other Earth species had been terrible. Humans had driven countless species extinct and polluted the entire planet. The evidence is clear, Vel 9 announced. Humans display the classic pattern of an apex predator species. They are intelligent, aggressive, and technologically capable. History shows that such species cannot coexist peacefully with others. The Council began to debate humanity's fate. Some members wanted to destroy the human ship immediately. Others suggested forcing humans to return to Earth and strengthening the quarantine. A few argued for giving humans a chance to prove they were different. Helen listened to the debate with growing despair. These aliens had made up their minds about humans long ago. Everything they said about human nature was true. Humans were violent and competitive. Human history was full of war and destruction, but Helen also knew something the aliens did not understand. Humans were capable of change. Human compassion could extend beyond their own species. Human cooperation could overcome human competition. The question was, how could she convince an entire galaxy of that truth? As the debate continued, Helen realized that humanity's future depended on her ability to show these peaceful aliens something they had never seen before. She needed to prove that predators could choose to be protectors. But with the human ship surrounded by alien forces in deep space, time was running out. The Galactic Council was preparing to make a decision that would determine whether humanity would be allowed to join galactic civilization or be destroyed as too dangerous to exist. Helen took a deep breath and prepared to make the most important speech in human history. 1 year had passed since the Aurora's encounter with the Galactic Council. The human ship had been allowed to return to Earth under careful alien supervision, but the debate about humanity's future continued in the great assembly halls of the galaxy. Commander Nick Carter stood on the bridge of the battleship Liberty. He was part of humanity's new rapid response fleet, created after learning about alien civilizations. The fleet was supposed to protect human interests in space while showing aliens that humans could be responsible. Nick was a career Navy officer who had commanded ships on Earth's oceans before moving to space. He was calm under pressure and good at making quick decisions. These skills would be tested today in ways he could not imagine. The Liberty traveled with two other ships, the Justice and the Defender. Dr. Patricia Young was aboard the Liberty as humanity's military ethics advisor. Patricia was a former philosophy professor who specialized in the moral rules of warfare. Her job was to make sure human military actions followed proper ethical guidelines. "Commander, we are receiving a distress signal from the Tau Ceti system," reported Lieutenant Katie Bell. Katie was the ship's communications officer and one of the youngest members of the crew. She had joined the space service to be part of humanity's expansion to the stars. Nick looked at the signal analysis. The message was coming from a colony of peaceful aliens. They were under attack by space pirates. The aliens were asking for help from anyone who could hear their message. "How far is Tau Ceti?" Nick asked. 18 hours at maximum speed, replied Captain Sam Hughes. Sam commanded the Justice and was Nick's second in command. He was a former Air Force pilot who had adapted well to space warfare. Dr. Patricia Young studied the distress signal carefully. "The message appears genuine," she said. "The aliens are describing attacks on civilian targets. They say many of their people have been killed or captured." Nick faced a difficult decision. Humanity was still on probation with the Galactic Council. Any military action could be seen as proof that humans were naturally aggressive, but innocent lives were at stake. "Commander," Katie said, "the distress signal is getting weaker. I think the alien transmitter is being damaged." Nick made his choice. "All ships, set course for Tau Ceti. Maximum speed." The three human ships accelerated toward the distant star system. Dr. Young worked with the crew to plan their response. They needed to help the aliens without appearing to be conquerors themselves. "Our mission is to protect civilians and drive off the attackers," Nick announced to all three ships. "We are not there to claim territory or demand rewards. We help because it is the right thing to do." When the human fleet arrived at Tau Ceti, they found a battle in progress. The alien colony was built on a small moon orbiting a gas giant. The colony looked peaceful and beautiful, with crystal buildings that caught the light from the distant star. But the colony was under attack. 5 large ships were bombarding the surface with energy weapons. The attacking ships were dark and angular, designed for warfare. They showed no signs of caring about civilian casualties. "The pirates are targeting residential areas," Katie reported. "They are not trying to capture military targets. They are trying to terrorize the population." Nick felt anger rising in his chest. This was exactly the kind of senseless violence that gave predator species a bad reputation. But he forced himself to stay calm and think tactically. "Sam, take the Justice and attack the pirates from the left. Katie, tell the Defender to attack from the right. We will hit them from the center." The human ships moved into combat formation. Nick had trained for battles like this, but he had never fought against alien technology before. He hoped human weapons would be effective. The pirate ships detected the approaching humans and turned to face them. They were larger than the human ships and appeared to be heavily armed. But Nick noticed something interesting. They moved slowly and without coordination. "These pirates are not professional military," Dr. Young observed. "They fight like criminals, not soldiers." The battle began when the pirates fired first. Their weapons were powerful but inaccurate. The human ships used their superior speed and coordination to avoid most of the enemy fire. Nick gave the order to return fire. Human weapons had been designed for efficiency and precision. The Liberty's missiles found their targets with devastating accuracy. One pirate ship exploded immediately. Captain Sam Hughes proved why he had been chosen for this mission. The Justice dodged between two pirate ships, firing at both of them. Sam's tactical skills allowed him to damage both enemies while avoiding their return fire. The Defender used a different approach. Instead of attacking the pirates directly, it moved to protect the alien colony. When the pirates tried to resume their bombardment of the surface, the Defender intercepted their weapons fire. Dr. Young watched the battle with mixed feelings. The human ships were winning easily, but their effectiveness in combat was frightening. In just 30 minutes, they had destroyed 3 pirate ships and disabled the other 2. "Commander," Katie called out, "we are receiving a message from the surviving pirates. They want to surrender." Nick considered his options. The pirates had been attacking innocent civilians, but they were now helpless and asking for mercy. "Tell them to surrender all weapons and prepare to be boarded," Nick decided. "We will take them prisoner, not execute them." This decision surprised Dr. Young. In the heat of battle, many species would have destroyed the defeated enemies, but Nick chose to show mercy even to criminals who had shown none to their victims. The human ships secured the surviving pirates and began rescue operations on the alien colony. Lieutenant Katie Bell coordinated with the alien survivors to locate people trapped in damaged buildings. What happened next amazed everyone involved. The human crews worked tirelessly to rescue alien civilians they had never met. They shared their medical supplies and food with the injured aliens. They used their ship's tools to clear debris and repair damaged buildings. Captain Sam Hughes made the ultimate sacrifice when a damaged alien building began to collapse. He was helping evacuate civilians when the structure started to fall. Sam could have escaped easily, but 3 young aliens were still trapped inside. Sam made a choice that defined human character. He stayed to help the aliens escape, even though it meant he would be caught in the collapse. Sam was killed saving people from a species he had just met. The human crews mourned their fallen commander, but they continued the rescue work. They treated the alien civilians with the same care they would show to humans. They asked for nothing in return. Dr. Young was amazed by what she witnessed. These military personnel, trained for warfare, had instantly transformed into rescue workers and humanitarian aid providers. They had fought with terrible efficiency when necessary, then shown incredible compassion when the fighting was over. What none of the humans knew was that the entire battle had been watched by hidden alien observers. The Galactic Council had staged the entire crisis as a test of human character. The peaceful aliens on Tau Ceti were actors, working with the Council to create a realistic scenario. The pirates were Council members in disguise, using fake weapons, and ships that could simulate battle damage. The Council wanted to see how humans would react when they believed innocent lives were at stake. Would humans help strangers? Would they show mercy to defeated enemies? Would they demand rewards for their assistance? Ambassador Zix-7 watched the test results from his hidden observation ship. He was stunned by what he had seen. The humans had performed exactly as Dr. Helen Gray had promised they would. When faced with innocent suffering, the humans had responded immediately without calculating costs or benefits. They had fought with deadly efficiency when necessary, but had shown mercy the moment their enemies surrendered. Most impressive of all, Captain Sam Hughes had given his life to save alien civilians. This was something the Council had never seen from a predator species. "The test is complete," Zix-7 transmitted to the other observers. "Prepare a full report for the Council. The humans have surprised us all." As the human ships departed Tau Ceti, they left behind a colony full of grateful aliens. But they also left behind a group of alien observers who now questioned everything they thought they knew about predator species. The humans had proven they could be both deadly warriors and compassionate protectors. The question now was whether the Galactic Council would be wise enough to give them a chance to prove themselves on a larger stage. The future of human-alien relations hung in the balance as the test results made their way back to the Council chambers.